Hey guys, my name's Ruddy. In today's video, we're going to be building an app with shared preferences and provider. So this is useful if you want to store settings for the user, if you want to check to see if the device and application has not been run before, or if you just want to store key value stores. So first things first, if you want to get to where we are now, make sure to watch the other videos in the series, and otherwise, let's dive in. So what you want to do is go to your pubspec YAML and add two packages. We're going to be adding shared preferences and provider. So go ahead and do that. We're going to do shared preferences. This will work on macOS, web, iOS, and Android, and maybe Windows by the time you're watching this. And we're going to do provider. This will be so we can have access to our settings object throughout the application. Wonderful. So once that is done getting the packages, we can go to our main.dart and create this into a stateful widget. Great. So let's get access to our shared preferences object. So we can do that by using shared preferences and then prefs. I like to use this for brevity. And we can call our init state where we update this value. So we do shared preferences dot get instance dot then prefs is equal to value. Cool. And one last thing, we can give a bool. So we say is fresh is equal to false. If mounted set state is fresh is equal to prefs dot get bool is fresh installation install. Okay, there we go. Is fresh, let's make it a unique key, is fresh app install, perfect. And we just want to give it a default value. So for the first time, we want to say true, since if we grab this object and it is null, it means we haven't set it before, therefore it is a fresh installation. We can now update our debug check mode banner to say if it is fresh, we want to show the banner, otherwise we don't, and we can go ahead and run this. Awesome. So while that is loading, I want to go ahead and work on the correct way to do this. But real quick, let's set our value. So after we make sure that the app is fresh, we want to set the value to false. And that is because we never want to show this code. For example, you may want to check to see if your application is fresh, so you can send like a notification to welcome the user, to ask for certain permissions, and to set some certain default values. So here we have our application, and we have our debug banner here on the top, but now if we refresh, the debug banner goes away. And this is because now it is not a fresh installation anymore. Awesome. So let's find a way to improve this. What you want to do is create a new top level folder called source. Inside there, we create a folder called classes. And inside there, we create a file called settings. Wonderful. We're going to do class settings. And this is just going to be some boilerplate. I have a package that does this all for you, but if you want to do it manually, this is how we do it. So let's create a shared preferences object. This will look familiar for what we just did. We're going to have a bool get is ready if this is not null. We're going to have a future method that checks to see, that actually initializes everything, since we're going to call this once when the application launches. So we're going to say, make this async and say prefs is equal to await shared preferences dot get instance, and we're going to return is ready. Looking good. So now we need to do a couple more things. We also want to have a stream controller because we want to rebuild when new settings are updated. So we can do this easily by adding a stream controller, which the generic is settings. Let's say controller is equal to, let's make it a broadcast controller. And can infer the type here. We can remove it here, and let's also give it a dispose or close method. It's up to you. So we're going to say void close, and we're going to do close. Actually, let's rename it to dispose because we're going to be using provider and it may make more sense for the object. Okay, awesome. And after this is done, we can just quickly add an event to our stream before and after, since we're going to be providing default values, and looks great. So now we can get into the settings themselves. So let's consider the isFresh key, for example. We can go back into our settings and we can say, let's do a static const string isFresh. Let's make this private. isFresh key is equal to our key that we just added. And now let's add our getter and setter. So we can say bool get isFresh is equal to preferences. Get bool, add our key and our default value. In this case, we want it to be true. And now we have our setters. So we're going to say bool is fresh, their value. And we're not going to do this yet. We're going to come back to this. We're going to now have a new method called future update is fresh. And the reason why is sometimes we want to wait for this async function to complete. So now we're just going to do some quick things. We want to check to see if it's not ready, and if it's not, we want to initialize it. So we need to make this async here, and then we say prefs dot set bool. We give it our key and our value. We await it here, and then we just add a new object to the stream. This will make more sense later. And then what's cool is now we can just call this method update is fresh and pass our value. Wonderful. So it looks really good. And now let's just refactor our main.dart to use this new logic. We can remove all of this and change this to settings. We can import this. We can have this equal to our object. We need to dispose of it before we forget. And now we initialize it. So this will be settings.init. We can now wrap our material app with a stream builder. The stream will be something we forgot to add, so we can do stream of settings get stream controller dot stream. Awesome. Let's go back in here. We have our settings object, stream, and as you see, our isFresh is no longer there, so we can just do settings dot not is ready is fresh. Wonderful. One other thing we want to do is have access to our settings object throughout our entire application. So this is pretty easy. We can just wrap this with a multi-provider or a single provider, but in this case, we're going to use multi-provider. You can do provider.value. We're going to pass in our settings and also give it the generic. Wonderful. And we're good to go. So let's rerun our application, make sure nothing broke. We have an error and we're good. Okay, that error was just from the restart. So every time we update our settings now, it's going to update this class. So let's take it a step further and let's add a dark mode toggle to our application. So we can just copy this. We can say is dark mode key is dark theme. We can now update this, and we can update this. It's dark. Let's just fix this. Is dark, is dark. Wonderful. And then the only difference this one being is this going to have a default of false. Wonderful. Let's go into our settings and say, or for our theme mode, we're going to say if is dark, we want to run our theme mode .dark, otherwise our theme mode .light. Wonderful. That should fix that error. And one last thing, let's go to our settings. Let's grab our settings object. So this will be settings is equal to provider. Let's import provider out of settings provider of settings, and then let's do listen false. Change this to a list view. Awesome. And let's just use a switch list tile, which is probably one of my favorite widgets that are so handy. Let's say is dark. We're going to give it the on change. What's cool is because we've already added that function, we can just call this directly, and we can give it a title text and say dark mode. Wonderful. Now everything should be good. Let's go back to here, and we see that we have a stream builder around our material app. It should call this every time we call the dark mode. So let's go to our settings, click it, and look at that. So every time we change this, it will update our application. What's cool is this is a stateless widget. There's only one stateful widget in the application, and that is the main.dart. We can remove the shared preferences import, and we have our settings object, which then we can add settings however you want to this. And it's super easy to add new settings, just as I was saying, but you can also support different types too. We can support list of string, integer, and all different kinds. So let's just change this real quick to be a custom type. So let's support an enum. So this could be theme mode key, theme mode, and we're just gonna say, let's do this, theme mode key here, theme mode, update theme mode, copy this here, and right here it thinks it's a bool, so let's change it to theme mode. Wonderful. We need to import Flutter services there. We're going to say get int, since this is an enum value, and otherwise we're going to return, let's do theme mode .system.index. Cool. And here we can specify our enum values. So we can say theme mode.values, and let's do here. Wonderful. So this will automatically fall back to the correct one. Let's see, theme mode get theme mode type. I think we have a conflict there. Oh, no, we don't. Okay, so theme mode, yes, we need to set it here. So we'd say update theme mode. We're going to say set integer, and we're going to do value.index. Awesome. And then now this is just a quick example of how you can support an enum value for shared preferences. And of course, all the code will be in the description below. You can look at the repo and go over this, but just want to show you how easy it is to use shared preferences, and especially provider. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for next week's video. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me, support me on Patreon, and follow me on GitHub and Twitter. Thank you so much.